watcher. Yeah, this is a pickups video. This actually tell you the truth. Excuse me. It's actually the second shot I've had. I filmed one. It was a 45-minute job. Watched it back. It bored me to tears. Felt like to be honest, when I was recording it, it felt like I was going through the motions. I'm getting to that point now. I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over again. I think I'm needing like a change of location, a change of scene. I need to. Well, I feel like I've been saying this for years. I need to reignite the spark. Like I need to go to, like when it feels like the love's gone out of marriage. Like when couples have been married for too long, they go for a bad patch, and everything's really routine. They just do the same thing over and over again. Maybe I should do a video of wearing some sexy undies. That sounds about right. Yeah, but no, it was really seriously bored me to tears. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go all out to self-edit, cut out all the bullshit, and do this as quickly as possible. No more talk about doing videos in yeah. Anyway, when it gets. When I have to do things like this, I always feel like I'm fucking repeating myself, which I do enough of anyway. But anyway, right, nice mixture of stuff. I've done well this month, but only really in charity shops when it comes to things for trading in. It's so rare now to actually find stuff that it's for keeping, for staying in the collection. But That in itself isn't so bad, because then you can go to CEX, and then CEX are more likely to have stuff you want to keep. So, it's not all bad, but I worked it out. I think this time round I've got a good sort of 80 quid's worth of credit, but that cost me a fraction. So I can't really complain. But anyway, first lot of stuff. First one, music. Proper music. None of this modern stuff. No, this is proper music. It's an album that I've wanted to get for a while. It's a band called Toots and the Maytals. If anybody can tell me exactly the style of reggae this is, because this is reggae, clearly a reggae. If you've seen This Is England, you'll know the sort of music. This is the sort of music that appears in This Is England. It's sort of like a reggae. I don't know. It's not ska. But there's certain songs in it you'd recognise, like Monkey Man, 5446 was my number, Pressure Drop, and there's a version of Louie Louie on it. But this is proper music. This is what I call proper music. None of this stuff that people have been banding about recently. Naming no artists or names. Right, that is the only bit of music I've got. Flims, Poundland. The Killer Inside Me. This is really, really, really good film. Doesn't often get spoken about. I've seen this on telly a couple of times. It's by a guy called Michael Winterbottom. I think he's quite famous for documentaries, but I might be wrong. I might be thinking of someone else. But it's got the best Affleck in it, Casey, and he's basically he's a sort of a deputy Texas sheriff, but also a psychopath. Serial killer, I'm not so much. It feels it's got a bit of Badlands about it, a bit of that about it, but that's sort of not much. But it's really good, violent, but it's all in context. It's not context-free violence, and it's quite difficult to watch, but highly recommended. This one was that was Poundland. This is another Poundland one. This is a weird one because. It was just like, it's called Privilege. Who the hell's that? It's that actor was actually the lead singer out of a band called Herman's Hermits from the 60s. probably know some of their songs, but none spring to mind at the moment. But I bought it because it says BFI on it. It's British Film Institute, and these are often sort of collectible films. Like certain publishers, their releases are more collectible. Things like Arrow and Eureka and stuff like that, or Criterion. And I think BFI are the same. I don't really want to explain it. If anybody saw a documentary, it was one of the Unreported World. It was about music in China, and it was there was one particular bit in it about how China almost have like state-sponsored boy bands, these highly orchestrated, highly controlled boy bands with a really wholesome message. And I get the impression this has a very sort of similar. That's what this character is. He's sort of like a 1960s Justin Bieber, but it's a 1960s slightly dystopian. So, by a guy called Peter Watkins, who is sort of big into that sort of thing. I've got a film of his. It's called Punishment Park, which is basically a load of hippies, load of counterculture hippies get released into the desert and somewhere in America, like somewhere like Arizona or something, and then get chased and hunted down. So. But I bought this primarily because I thought it might be worth trading in, but CEX won't take it. They'll take the DVD, they'll take the DVD Blu-ray combo, but they won't take the Blu-ray on its own version, which is annoying. Although if you've got the DVD Blu-ray combo, that'll get you £6 credit. But this one is so it's a keeper. Tokyo Godfathers anime. I bought this in a charity shop with four other things. They're all £1 each. The other things have all since been traded in for the credit, but I only bought them all because I didn't have any cash, and that particular pound shop, charity shop, had a £5 limit on cash card transactions, so I had to top it up. And all the others have been traded in. This one is the only one that's survived the cull. It sounds really good, actually. It's by the same guy who made Vampire Hunter D and Ninja Scroll, and it's about 3 vagrants in Tokyo who find a baby on Christmas Eve, I think. So slightly Christmas-orientated anime, which is sort of slightly odd in itself, but which makes it interesting. Right, these next 2 films by Taika Waititi, who has just released, or is he going to release? Or is about to release, Thor Ragnarok. If you know these 2 films, these are his earlier films, and then you see how he's gone on to make Thor Ragnarok. It's bizarre because Thor Ragnarok, I've not seen it, but you pretty much know what you're going to get. These 2 are so far removed from, watching these 2 films, you would not guess sort of thing you get in Thor Ragnarok. They're just so far removed. This first one has only actually been released in the cinema, very limited release, I think, but it's from 2010, and I think at the time it was only like a New Zealand or New Zealand Australia only release, and so this DVD actually I found in a charity shop for £1. I think I've taken all the prices off. I found it in a charity shop for £1, but I knew it was by Taika Waititi. And I've enjoyed all these other films before. And I've not seen this one, but I'd heard of it, and I knew it was one of his earlier films. I've got a film called Eagle vs. Shark, which is good. And this is, I think it's his second film called Boy. I think the character is called Boy, that's his name. And if you know his style, the director, it's really gentle, quirky humour, very sort of laid back, which makes the fact that he's made Thor really odd. But this was actually at the time quite a nice buy because it wasn't available, still isn't available in the UK. So this was nice to know. And being from New Zealand, it's region 2. Somebody coming up my drive. I'm just have to cut it off here and go and tell them to bugger off. Oh, they gone. I gave them what for. Yeah, so by the same guy who's just made Thor Ragnarok, although you wouldn't really guess stylistically, and which was, like I said, it was actually a really nice buy in a charity shop because you can't get it in the UK. I didn't know at the time, but I looked afterwards, and you can't. Now, this one you can get. This one's available on Netflix, and it's brilliant. I can only really describe it, and it's been described by sort of reviewers in the same way as what's the word? I've forgotten. Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap, but with vampires. It's called What We Do in the Shadows, and it's really, really, really good. It's on Netflix. So if anybody's got Netflix, have a crack because it's a lot of fun. There you go. Look, I do have my own mind, surprisingly, but yeah, it's about these four vampires who flat share in somewhere in I think it's in Wellington or Christchurch in New Zealand, and it's like a mock documentary. It's really funny, really funny. Sort of like an antidote to all the stuff like Twilight. Cracking soundtrack, such good sound, such good music on it. Choice of music, I've got a few of which I'm actually going to put links to in the description box. But yeah, it's called What We Do in the Shadows. I don't think I mentioned that. And it's by the same guy. Same guy made Thor, the new Thor, and it's got him from Flight of the Conchords, who I've just read actually are going to be touring, which is yeah. Final film. This was probably the best charity shop find I've had in ages, probably a good year, but it's a film. It's actually a steelbook version of a DVD or a Blu-ray that I bought only last month. I think I showed it in my maybe my last or previous charity pickups video, and yeah, it's a steelbook. It's 13 Assassins. This is just. I always wanted to get this, but the sort of the price went up, and to the point I couldn't justify sort of the extra cost just for a nice. Sort of a nice case. So in the end, I scrapped that idea and just went with the bog standard Blu-ray, which is about sort of £2.50 or something. Then I saw it was in a charity shop for £3, so I can just trade that one in. Bonus. Never thought I'd see that, but it's so rare when you actually see things that sort of tie into exactly what you've been looking for. It's just bizarre, and this is one of those occasions. And this character's great. He's one of my favourite characters. He's rock hard. He has two swords. There you go. There's not much to the actual case, but there's no info at all. But I think it's exactly the same. It's just the same Blu-ray. But yeah, that's all with films. Right. I'll try and rattle through. I've actually got some decent stuff ticked off my list, but a lot of stuff which was just random purchases. These first two Laytons. To Professor Layton's, yeah. These were both bought with a copy of New Super Mario Brothers Wii that I saw in the same charity shop. It's the same situations. Didn't have any cash. Needed a minimum of £5 to use my card. I wanted a copy of New Super Mario Brothers Wii. That had been there for a good few days actually, so I thought I better nab it now, otherwise someone will get in there for me. And needed to top it up to over £5. These were £2. And I thought, they're games that might help me train my old grey matter. Now I'm getting on a bit. Now all the I've just looked back through a couple of my old videos. I can't believe I never had a grey beard. Just looking back at them, this is going back literally a couple of years. I look so young. It's depressing, but yeah, two Laytons to top it up. And I just thought to myself, like I said, what was it? What did I forget? I forgot Spinal Tap. That's the sort of thing. Maybe if I can sort of involve myself more with things like this, it might train my brain, and have a bit of fun at the same time. Might sort of sort of reconnect some of the synapses, if that's what the right words are. But yeah, 2 Laytons, they were £2, and they were essentially just to top up to over a fiver, so I could get that copy of New Super Mario Brothers. And yeah, and I thought to myself, they were £2, which is, probably a bit heavy for me anyway. But I thought to myself, chances are I'll get the majority of that, at least the majority of that, back if I wanted to trade them in. They're not expensive in CEX, but I'll probably get about maybe £3 back, hopefully. This one, this isn't the one I bought actually. No, it's the other one. Yeah, 2 copies. No, I bought this going back a couple of months, and Battlefield 4 going back a couple of months, and being in the naive idiot, didn't realise it had 2 discs, and I was missing disc 1 or 2 or something. One of the discs anyway. So I've been on the lookout ever since. But in the intervening months, I've sort of lost my desire to play this game, because at the time when I bought it, I had played through Medal of Honor, and I didn't enjoy it that much. But it sort of ignited some need in me to play cheap, nasty FPSs, where I could shoot people in far off countries, all in the name of good. But yeah. So now I've got 2 discs, but this was £1 in cash converters. But annoyingly, both discs are mullered. So I've got 1 disc here which is missing, and the discs in this one are mullered and knackered. So they both might be redundant. I don't know, but anyway, can't say I'll ever get around to them. Maybe I did, because I played Medal of Honor, and that lit some sort of touch paper. Maybe I just need to get around to playing this, and Right, this one was more my sort of something I'm more interested in. Enslaved. One of those games you just hear lots about, and it's sort of well known to be, maybe doesn't quite get the accolades that it should, but it's supposed to be. People love this game. You hear lots of good things spoken about it, and when you know of games like that, and then those games are just £2 in CEX, there's no reason not to have it. And this is one of those instances, and it's supposed to be supposed to be a lot of fun. So people tell me. So it's been on my list for a long time. It took me a while to get it actually. They all sort of, every time I saw a copy, they were battered. I didn't want a battered one. Right. These next 4, all bought in the same charity shop, PS1 games. And PS1 games get to the point now that things like, Mega Drive games were going back a few years, in that they're a lot less common to see in charity shops than they were. And so I sort of feel obliged to buy some when I do see them. It's almost automatic. But in this instance, they were bought mostly for the cases, because I'm running out of cases, running out of spares. But one of them was bought to trade directly into to Computer Exchange for a bit of credit. I'm not shy. I have no shame. But turns out, actually, 2 of them will end up being keepers. 2 of the ones that were, I'll show you. This one, clearly, LMA. This is the keeper. No, it's not actually. Look how young. Not that you're going to see it. How young Alan Hansen looks. But yeah, this was for the case. The thing is, these were £1. Now, it's indicative of how uncommon, how rare it is for me to see PS1 games in charity shops nowadays. Actually, no, it's not. But reasonable ones. It's not massively rare. It's uncommon. But to see them at sports games at 50p. I used to have an upper limit of like 50p for spare case games, PS1 games. And these were £1. So my upper limit has gone up, because with sort of a subsequent scarcity, that's it, scarcity. So yeah, LMA for the case. But these next 2 were bought for the case, but Actually, no, one of them wasn't, because one of them's got a crack, so clearly not bothered for the case. Siphon filter 3. This is the only siphon filter I didn't have, I think. I've got 2, definitely got 2. I thought I had one. I've played one. But, yeah. Turns out this is actually quite a collectible game. This is sort of like upwards of about £7, averaging around about 10, maybe a bit more. So weird. But, yeah. So, at £1, that's a bit of a bargain. I have no idea when I nudged my mouse. I've literally just discovered. I didn't pay attention. Jesus Christ. Sort of glowing. Gone all glowy again. I've literally just discovered that I wasn't recording. I thought I was. I had been. I must have nudged. If I sit here, I must have nudged the mouse with my elbow, and it stopped recording. I don't know what I haven't featured, so I better just randomly flash them in front of the screen so you have an idea. 4 PS1 games: Metal Gear Solid, Sexy LMA Manager, and 2 Keepers. Ooh. Siphon Filter 3. And Alien Resurrection. Charity shops, £1 each. Some of them were for cases. As I mentioned when I think I wasn't recording, my my upper limit that I spend on PS1 games for cases has gone from 50p up to £1, purely based on how scarce they are generally in charity shops. You know, but I'm hoping that I was just repeating myself, and because I have no idea what I have recorded and what I haven't. But anyway, fuck it. I have to look back. This is a fucking car crash. Right, last 5. Jesus balls. Jesus balls. One off my PS2 list. Nothing special. Pains me to say it, but this is one that went on my list because I'd watched a Metal Jesus Rocks Hidden Gems video. I hate being influenced by things like that, but you know, I do have, believe it or not, I do have my own mind. Splashdown 2, Eyes Gone Wild. Yeah, particularly judging by the cover, this isn't a game that I would have really paid much attention to. But he mentioned it, and he bangs on about it often when he's talking about PS2 games, so I thought it was worth a punt. And this was £2. I think it's gone up slightly now in CEX. I've actually had to change the case. Nice shiny case now. Nice shiny case. And yeah, this is actually a game that when it appears on auction, it always sells on eBay. Always sells. When it appears for decent prices. This isn't a game that hangs about, which is, you know, maybe a sign of a good game. You know, games that don't hang about, dirt cheap games. You know, there's so much shite and shovelware on all systems, and the good and the bad is sort of, I think they're separated between how quickly they sell, and I'm hoping the fact that this sells quite regularly, doesn't hang about, that's a sign that it's a good game. But you know, if older MJR, not that he's that much of an authority, I don't live and die by what the guy says, you know. eBay purchase, £7.50. Mickey's Wild Adventure. Isn't it a port or a version of Mickey Mania? Yeah, this is a game I wanted to get. I don't have many proper sort of 2D platformers. It's a game I really wanted, but I had to compromise because the original version of this is fat case, and it comes with a CD soundtrack disc, and that can go up to £40 or maybe even more. I think averaging around about 30, 35. Which, and the main alternative, is the platinum version, which is bloody everywhere. I don't want platinums. I'm not that desperate at the end of my collecting that I'm going to really lower myself to getting platinums. It's just not going to happen, no. But this was a nice compromise. This is probably the most uncommon version, sort of the standard, standard case with the black, black label. This was £7.50. I don't think it varies much. I think the platinum version is about £7.50. But yeah, didn't realise how similar this game is to Mickey Mania. They barely vary. I think really only, obviously there's sort of graphical sort of tweaks, but it's barely. The main difference is the orchestral soundtrack on this one. It's just, which says a lot about how much of a feat Mickey Mania is on the SNES and the Mega Drive, because it looks astounding, not much different from this. But right, nearly there. I'm gonna have to fucking look back through what I've recorded, and now I'm going glowy and give up. You know the light's failing because when it goes all sort of like snowy, can you see it around the peripheries? But yeah, talking about things I've bought in charity shops to trade in. On this occasion, last week I was out and I went into a charity shop. Just as I did, the woman was putting something onto the shelf, and it was 2 PS4 games. It was Ghost Recon Wildlands and Lego Star Wars Force Awakens PS4 for £1 each, and that was, to me, as a no-brainer. And I didn't really know what I was going to do with them. Clearly, they were going to be traded in, but I wasn't going to do it there and then. But then I went on to a CEX later in the day, hoping to get a game on my list because I knew they had one in stock. And I thought, sod it, I'd just trade in these 2 PS4 games and got 28 quid. And it just so happened that it was exactly the same price as the Mega Drive game that I wanted to get, which is the one here. They had it classified as boxed, which is more what I'm doing now, because boxed in CEX represents better value. Clearly when they say mint, it's like as I've said in the past, it's a collector's premium. So, don't complain so much about the price, because these are prices that are aimed at proper hardcore collectors. If you're not that bothered by condition, then you go boxed. But that's not to say all boxed games are knackered. They vary. There's a wide gamut of sort of things that will be classified as boxed. Gamut? I don't think I've ever said that in my videos. I'm not even sure what it means. But anyway, hopefully I've used it in the right context. But yeah, in this particular game, I knew they had it as boxed. I went to the store. It was in Walthamstow to check it out, and it's actually in really nice nick. It's a good 7. It's Ghouls and Ghosts. Yeah, was it 28? Yeah, 28 quid. So that was exactly the credit I got from these 2 PS4 games. So it just seemed really convenient just to trade them in. But I think, no, actually it's not this game. It's the next one. But yeah, this was a game I really wanted. Look. There's barely anything wrong with it. So I just can't get it back in the box. But yeah, it's actually 28 quid is a good price. So as I said, when you're looking at CEX, boxed is where the value comes from. Check them out in store, and you'll see really sort of decent quality games, decent condition games. They're not. I don't buy into this sort of widely held idea that they're overpriced and the games are all the conditions are all shit. Clearly, that's not the case. You just don't buy into that popular misconception. And this one here, also with credit, was bought with one of the Blu-rays. What We Do in the Shadows, and another one that was boxed. I think I got this for 30 quid. Since it's gone up to 32, but the mint version at the time was 50. It's gone down to 45. So their prices again move all over the place. It's like playing the stocks and shares. This one, Soleil, Crusader of Senti, essentially Mega Drive's version of Zelda: Link to the Past, but just not as good. Clearly not as good. But one I really wanted to play because I had this. I bought it mint, going back a good sort of 6 months, from CEX when they just literally just started doing Mega Drive games, and it turned up, and sort of the back clearly had water damage on it, and I took it back to one of my local branches, and the guy agreed with me, and he took the sleeve out, and the whole back just sort of disintegrated in his hands. So he sent it back, and then I think the shop that had sold it, they relisted it as boxed. So yeah, clearly they hadn't looked through it properly, but anyway. But yeah, this one is in decent nick. Maybe not quite as good as nick as Ghouls and Ghosts, but it's good enough. I might swap the case. It's not really pressing. I do have a case I could swap it out, but once I do it, it'd be a good 7. This is just a low 7, but this could be a good 7, or maybe even an 8. So yeah, this was really high on my Mega Drive list. So it's nice to make headway when it comes to things like that, and that's why I like the fact that CEX are doing retro now, because I can ship in a load of my tat and then just rejig it. It makes it more efficient. It's an efficient process. It's a refinement process. It's good for refining your collection. Right, last game. Fucking hell, what a slog. Going back, it was on the 11th of this month. It's October, isn't it? On the 11th. I got an email. I was checking my emails, and I got one from Amazon, and the ones that they should sort of send you a list of things that you might be interested in. It was one of those, and most of the time I just dismiss it. But on this occasion, it was something I was interested in, and it was a really good price. Clicked on it, and turned out that it was a brand new version, a brand new PS1 game, shipped from Amazon US for just over 11 quid. Which, how often are you going to see a brand new PS1 game nowadays for just over 11 quid? One slight caveat was the fact that it's one of the American greatest hits. It's Chrono Cross for just over 11 quid. It was 11.22 with the exchange rate, which, yeah. Chrono Trigger was the last RPG on the DS, the last RPG that I completed. Loved it. Didn't initially think it was going to be one of those games that's just one of those RPGs that just enters your subconscious and your psyche, and every time you see and hear music and see gameplay and stuff like that, and references to it, it just sort of creates some sort of feeling of nostalgia and warmth in you. But then I basically over leveled all my characters, loved it that much, and then to the point where I beat the game, beat the 2 final bosses, and really wanted to know what happens next in the storyline, because it's slightly open, sort of left open at the end of Chrono Trigger, isn't it? And I didn't realise that this was actually a continuation of the story, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows, but yeah. So this was always on my list. Didn't really want a greatest hits, because that's pretty ugly, isn't it? But, on the side, when you see it on the side, you just get it like that. And I could upgrade it in the future if it really does start to bother me. But yeah, so this was just over 11 quid. And they still got them. They've still got them, by the way. So it makes perfect sense, because this is sort of could cost you 20, 30 quid on eBay. And it does feel slightly cheap, because when I open it, the tray that holds the disc doesn't always stay in place. It almost sort of pops out. Do you know what I mean? Sort of this bit, this plastic tray, look, you almost see it? It's slightly loose, which makes me feel it's a slightly, build quality slightly cheaper. But the paperwork and the discs and the manual all looks fine. It's just the plastic on the cases feels slightly cheap. But then we can replace them, can't we? That's the good thing about having these sort of CD cases. Yeah, but yeah. Right. That's me, yeah. So you can still get these for just over 11 quid. So bargain, in my opinion, anyway. So I'm going to let you go. It's getting a bit dark. I'm going to go and finish. I'm going to go and watch Jeremy Kyle. So cheers, peeps. See you later.